sometimes you have to pull the reins back because it can get overwhelming, but what's next? What's next? What's next? Whatever you're doing, what's next? How can I make this better? All right, what's next? Yeah, sometimes you just have to stop, smell the flowers, live in the moment.
You're listening to Find the Good News, episode 57, The Good Humans, featuring Richard and Jack Harrell. Find the Good News is produced by Parker Brand Creative Services, a branding agency that thinks sideways, pushes forward, and gets your brand up. See what else we do at parkerbrandup.com. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Find the Good News. Today's episode features father and son Richard and Jack Harrell. This is a great visit and just made my heart really, really full. That's why I've got plenty of good to share with you. Make sure you stick around for the whole episode because Jack Harrell brought his piano and he treats us to some tunes. Next week, I share my visit with Chase Savant with NAMI, Southwest Louisiana. Chase was so friendly and forthcoming about his struggles with depression and anxiety. It did my heart good to talk to him, and I think you'll enjoy it too. The week after that is episode 59, and that's going to be a special anniversary mixtape episode. The guests from my top 5 episodes are coming back to the Right Round Table to help me mark this special occasion. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've already announced the lineup of good newsies to my patrons on Patreon, so if early riser access is something you're into, you can check that out at patreon.com/findthegoodnews. The new season of Find the Good News starts off with episode 60, where I get to share my conversation with the hosts of the Tower Hour podcast, a new podcast by Bank FMBD. We actually help produce this podcast, and I love the hosts so much that I asked them to come on Find the Good News to pop the lid off a bit. If you follow this show, then you're probably aware of the live episodes that we produce and stream on Mixlr.com. That's Mixlr.com. We've got several of those lined up, so get the Mixlr app ahead of time so you can join the chat as you listen. It's honestly a lot of fun. Make sure to follow Find the Good News on social media for those date and time announcements. I can tell it's the end of the season because that was a lot of announcements. There's a lot going on, and it's all good. Let's shut down my blah blah, set your ear mode to listen, set your mind mode to receive, and press play on a little good news. Ever since I started producing Find the Good News, I've wanted to do an episode that was specifically about fathers and their sons. One thing I've never tried to do with this show is force my energy into a certain direction. I have found that allowing guests to flow through in a natural way has allowed this signal to become what it's supposed to be, whatever that means. It's still a mystery. Recently, a series of auspicious circumstances placed me in the right place at the right time to hear the most lovely music being emitted by the flittering phalanges of Jack Harrell at Stellar Bean in Lake Charles. And there at a nearby table was Jack's father, Richard, who happened to be an old friend of mine from high school that I'd not spoken to in many years. As luck would have it, Jack and my son were in the Sulphur High School marching band together. Suddenly, it all clicked. I started having all these visual memories of Richard sitting in the stands. I assumed he was there to watch the game, but as I thought on it further, I realized I'd seen him after the games as well, waiting for the marching band to do their after-game performance. If you're a band parent, you know how much these performances mean to the kids. All of that came rushing into my mind, all the nodes connected, and I knew I'd found my father and son. Our conversation went exactly as I'd hoped. We talked about love, the challenges of raising a good human being in this world, and the way a relationship between a parent and child evolves over time. Richard and Jack were literally as far apart as two terrestrial beings could be, and somehow they ended up together in this relationship that continues to unfold in new ways every single day. I learned that relationships are going to change, especially those between a parent and their child. But change doesn't mean it has to grow cold. What I learned is that love makes you willing to be there when the change occurs, and it prepares you to bend when the flux occurs. Jack may be the one who plays the piano, but it's their relationship that helped give birth to the music. If you're a parent or considering becoming one, listen to this father and son visit and share with me. And make sure you stick around, because Jack brought his piano to the Good News studio, and that means you're in store for a musical treat.
Wake up, it's morning. You're dreaming up a story. I can hear the way it's going, 'cause you're laughing in your sleep on the path to your deliverance. and a holy wall of light pouring through your window.
Old news, bad news, fake news. Sometimes you just want to shut it all down and get no news at all. With Find the Good News, I aim to change that by focusing on good people doing good work. I visit with artists, educators, civic and spiritual leaders, musicians, business owners, students, volunteers, and everyday citizens who are using their creativity, resources, and talents to bring hope and happiness to their corner of the world. In each episode, I dig into the hearts and minds of my extraordinary guests. We have street-level conversations about relatable things going on in their lives. Discover the critical life experiences that shape them, the perspectives that drive them, and the fundamental beliefs that are anchoring them to a path of goodness. There's a lot of news in the world. My name is Oran Parker, and I'm going to find the good.
And I love you just as well.
Kept coming home and talking about this guy Jack at school and like, man, he can play the piano and just a cool guy. And you know, Jonah's a pretty positive kid. Like when Jonah likes somebody, I'm like, okay, they must have good character, because I think he's a good judge of character. Right. And I said, I didn't know y'all had piano in the band. And he goes, oh well, he just does it on his own, right? And he plays. You don't play it in the band, right? You play the trumpet.
Yes, I play trumpet.
Okay. And so I said, well, that's kind of cool. I said, well, so does he take piano lessons? And John goes, I don't know. And I said, well, how long has he been playing this? I've got 1,000 questions just talking to my kid. Sure. And so I guess one day we go to Stellar Bean. And John goes, that's my friend Jack. That's the guy I've been talking about that plays the piano. And I was sitting there and I was like, wow, dude, this kid can play piano. Yeah. And I felt like I heard somebody ask you how long you've been playing. And I thought I heard you say only like a year.
Yeah, about a year and a half, Jack.
Year and a half.
And dude, I was like, how this is pretty incredible, right? I mean, I'm going, he's playing really good.
Thank you.
You know, like I'm going, people are putting money over it in the tip jar. And then I saw you, Richard, and I was like, well, I know Richard. And I was like, and then the second time I saw you, I said, it's got to be his son then. And then he said, well, his last name's Harrell. I go, okay, well, you know, putting it all together. Right. And then I started putting these memories together that I kept seeing you at the football games, and you would hang around, and you were always in the band vicinity. And I said, well, he must have a child, of course. You know, you start making all those little connections. Right. So yeah, I saw y'all's photos from your trip to New York.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And I was like, look at this, man. I love seeing. I don't know, man. I went through every one of those pictures. I mean, not to stalk you guys, but just let it kind of move my heart, because I think it's so. I don't know. I honestly can kind of consider it sacred duty to be a father.
I agree with you. And it's kind of funny when we went, I asked Jack, I said, hey buddy, you want to take a little trip before school starts? And I was thinking maybe Biloxi or Austin. He said, yes. Where do you want to go? I goes, let's go to New York.
Manhattan.
All right.
Wow, dude.
So all right, so we got some tickets and found a good hotel, and we walked 28 miles in about 2.5 days.
Really?
Yeah.
We walked everywhere. It was insane.
Dude, the pictures were so cool. And you know, I don't know if I got this right, but it looked like y'all went to different locations where they're like famous pianos. Yeah, different locations.
Yeah,
that was
Jack.
Mostly a coincidence.
Was it really? Y'all didn't plan that?
Well, I planned one thing. My goal was to get him to play at a piano bar somewhere. So when I Googled piano bars, the first one that came up was a Russian piano bar, which has a unique history all on its own, and we can talk about it if you like. And it was right down the road from our hotel. So we went, and he got to play. He met a lady, Nani, what was her name?
Nani, I think.
She was from Georgia, the country.
Oh, okay, yeah, actually from...
Right.
Right.
And she let Jack sit in, and then she got up and ate lunch, and he played for a while. We had a couple of drinks, and that piano, that white piano, was actually donated by Mikhail Baryshnikov, you know, the Russian ballet dancer from the 80s.
How cool is that?
It was awesome.
I mean, and dude, full circle, right? I mean, because off pod just a minute ago, I mean, you told me, and I mean, if you don't mind me just jumping right into it, it kind of makes it's a great segue in. Jack was adopted when he was 10 months old, right?
Right.
From Russia. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just a cool little thing right there.
Yeah, it was neat.
That's really awesome, man. So then the rest of that trip, I mean, you guys went. It looked like you had different pianos that you saw, like famous ones. Like one I saw, like Paul McCartney or somebody.
Right.
Billy Joel.
And
Billy Joel.
It was just on like a hole-in-the-wall music shop, and I asked to play the piano, and then they told me the history while I was playing it, and then it like freaked me out before I played it because, you know, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
That piano used to be in a bar called the Langley, and both of those gentlemen had performed there, and that was the piano they played, and that was in this hole-in-the-wall music shop. That was pretty neat.
That's really awesome, man. So I told y'all before we got recording that this show, I just felt like y'all were great to have on because I've been wanting to do something about fathers and sons. You know, I have people in my life who don't have fathers, you know, and I've watched how that maybe, no slight on the mothers. I don't mean that way, but I just have noticed, you know, changes in their life without having a father around. And I just sometimes sit and meditate on the value of having a good, healthy father, you know, that actually is present in your life and that actually just supports you, doesn't want you to be them, but really just wants to be there as a foundation for you and a source of inspiration, wisdom, just consolation, all those things. And I just sense that from what's going on with you guys. I could be wrong, but I just sense that. So tell me about that, Jack. I mean, you jumped in there.
Well, good is an understatement for my dad, because I didn't realize until, as much as I should have, until they got divorced a couple years ago, how much he really is there for me. And it's just, sometimes I have to like sit back and take it in, because I forget sometimes, because I have a busy schedule sometimes,
Sure.
you know, and I don't make it over as much as I want to, as I used to, because, you know, we were in the same house.
Oh, right.
But whenever I do realize how great of a father he is,
Thank you, buddy.
it's enough of a reminder to, you know, get in my car, drive over the bridge, go to his house. One time I brought the football so we could just toss the ball, and then like we went to Pujo's Cafe.
Yeah.
And then we just walked the streets for a couple hours.
How awesome is that?
It was one of the best evenings I've had in the last year or two. I mean, it was really nice. We hadn't thrown the football in a while, and we probably stayed in the backyard for 30 or 40 minutes, and then he had just started playing piano at all these different businesses in Lake Charles, so I suggested we go out and look for some new locations to play. So we drove around, and it was the first time I think Jack had really driven me, because he had just gotten a vehicle, just got his license. So that was a cool experience, and like I said, we went and had dinner, and a good, probably one of the most adult conversations we've ever had over dinner at Pujo. And like I said, we walked around downtown for a while, and the conversation just kept going. We were going home. We ended up driving for another 30 or 40 minutes just talking. So it was probably, like I said, one of the most adult conversations, certainly one of the most meaningful conversations we had in a while, or evenings.
You know, man, I mean, I can't just pass this by listening to y'all say that. I mean, I think about, you know, I've known you since we were in high school together. You graduated. Right. We were talking about that outside, you know. And it kind of hits me sometimes when I talk to people from high school, and you go, okay, especially when I haven't talked to them in a long time. And now I'm sitting here, you know, we were that age, Jack's age.
Sure.
And the last time we really
knew each other.
Yeah, that's right. And so you go, so now I'm sitting across the table from you, and your son is here, and you're having that, you know, these mature conversations with your son. And I don't know, there's just something fascinating about that to me. I think we can let that pass us by, how awesome that is sometimes, and just go, life just goes on and we just keep on trucking. But to really sit and think about the cycle of things.
I think it's really a good, probably a standard to life. To get a little philosophical on you for a second. Before we had Jack, you know, you hear a lot of people talk about legacy.
Yeah.
And like most people, I always thought my legacy would be what I accomplished in life, you know, professionally and personally and all that good stuff. But then as I got to know Jack and he got older, and I understood the true benefits and trials of fatherhood, my definition of legacy started to change. You know, because after you die, people are going to forget what position you held, or what kind of car you had, or what kind of where you lived, or maybe even some involvements that you had in certain programs. But the one thing that doesn't die is the morals and the values, the core values that you instill in your child. And then, if he should or she should grow up and have a kid, then some of that's going to go into the next generation, and so forth and so forth. So that has been my definition of a legacy for the past 17 years.
Do you ever feel that, Jack? Like, do you ever feel that kind of the gravity of that kind of responsibility? And I don't mean that as a scary question, but like, do you ever just sit back and go, I see these things that have been passed on to me, and you kind of cherish them and go, I need to identify them and sort of hone them and let them flourish in me so I can pass on even better versions of that to the people in my life?
Lately, I have a lot more so, because it's just, there's a lot of qualities that he carries with him, and he taught me about the core values that a good man should have.
Yeah.
And
can you tell me what those are? Some of those core values? Do you like things that you can get, like, oh, hey, I know these are things I received from my father?
Honesty and loyalty is some of the strongest ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just being selfless but kind is also, that can get you a long way, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And respecting strangers, that, he taught me about that.
Really?
It's very cliche, but getting those, you can get a really, oh my God, you can get a lot further with a stranger if you're nice to them than if you just kind of smile at them and keep walking. So if you sit down and have even like a 30-second conversation, then they'll remember your name, and then that protects your reputation.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because I believe in that totally. That's one of the things that I really try to propagate, is that we just don't, everybody's got something, everybody's carrying something, everybody comes from somewhere. And when we start to have those conversations with a total stranger, you begin to see their humanity, and you start to see the things that connects you and the common ground you share. So, Richard, have you always been that way, you feel like? Or is that something that developed over time? Or?
I think it developed over time. I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of traveling all over the world, different countries. And specifically, I went to China one time. And when I stepped off the bus and I saw all the billion of Chinese people that exist, I thought, man, how insignificant am I?
Oh, yeah.
And
you said that in New York, too.
Same thing in New York, yes. You look at all the people, and every single person, it's just like you. They have hopes, they have dreams, they have failures, they have insecurities. And you think that you get so wrapped up sometimes in your own life because, well, they're your problems, they're your goals, or your dreams. I think you forget, or people tend to forget, that every single person has all of those thoughts and all those feelings. And I think that showing some empathy and getting to know these people, having that mentality when you talk to someone, I think opens up an entirely different dialogue when you're speaking with them. If you already know, hey man, this guy's just like you. I mean, not just like you. Maybe they come from a different background, different culture, different set of values, but basically we're all the same. And everybody wants, most people want the same thing.
Yeah.
To be, I guess, validated and recognized, and or just to hear someone say, excuse me, when you step in their way or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just common decency.
So, Richard, you're a Lake Charles police officer?
Correct.
So, how long have you been doing that?
Going on 25 years.
25 years. So how has that affected all of that you just said? How much of that comes from the job that you do? Have you had to learn and apply?
It's like a pendulum. It goes back and forth, because unfortunately most of the people we deal with, or we see, or we come in contact with, they're usually at the worst point in their life. So it's not always a pleasant experience for anyone involved. It's 2:00 in the morning in their living room because someone broke in, or someone committed a battery upon someone.
Yeah.
So you if you're not careful, you can walk away with a bit of a jaded idea of how people really are. But you have to occasionally step back and remember, okay, this is not their normal life. This is, you see them at their worst right now. You may not ever see them again, but tonight you saw them in a terrible tragedy or a bad car wreck, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So if you know that, then I think that gives you the ability to step back and remember, okay, this is not how people always are.
Yeah. I wondered about that because I just being in that job, I know just looking out the world, and we were talking about this off pod about the news even. I mean, if you just watch the news, and our kids are exposed to the news. I mean, Jack, I'm sure you use social media and watch the news and get information coming into your life. When you have bad news flowing in and you have bad situations just constantly coming at you from all these different directions, I guess it could jade you. And I just think it's pretty amazing when you don't let it, right? I mean, when you have to, because that takes work and it increases that muscle.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It
Like, because you could just, like you said, leave those types of situations, go, man, it's problem after problem after problem, carry it into your life, pass that kind of thing on to Jack.
Right.
You know, and you then have this responsibility that you're taking to go, okay, I've got to, not do that.
Right. And I always thought that where Jack and I, or where Jack grew up, is about a 20-minute drive from the police department. Yeah. So I haven't been on patrol in years, but when I was on patrol and I was faced with those daily crummy situations, I remember thinking several times how beneficial it was that I got to drive 20 minutes before I got home, just to unwind a little bit and let some of that get off my head and be fresh and clean when I got home with Jack.
Yeah. Man, that's something we talked about this with another guest about kind of creating a wading pool. We were talking about how when you were a kid, sometimes there would be like a little plastic pool at the edge of the swimming pool, so you could wash the grass off your feet before you went in the house. And we were talking about how, having that in your life, a little wading pool is of value because you're just going to track that mess into your house.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So, Jack, I mean, I guess thinking about my own son, I always worry about those same things. Like, when I encounter something negative, or if I go through something negative, that I'm just not going to realize that I'm carrying it into my house and I'm going to pass it on. In any of your formative years, I mean, did you ever sense that from your dad? Like, dad's making an effort to not do that? Or were you even aware of that? Or was your dad just so good at not bringing that into your life?
The older I got, the more aware I was. Yeah. And it's a strong quality to have. To put you before all of the crummy situations that he encountered 20 minutes before he walked through the door, to separate that and really control his attitude for the environment. It's hard.
And I'm happy, I know it. I'm helpless.
Look, as much as I enjoy talking on Find the Good News about making a change, I'd be less than honest if I didn't admit that change is hard sometimes. I should get more quiet time. I should exercise more, walk more, sleep more. And the one thing that I know I should do, without a doubt, is eat better, healthier, and fresher. But there's a wide berth between knowing something and actually doing something about it. I love to cook, but just like those other should do's, I don't always make the time. This is where I have to tell you about Fresh Fuel, because it takes procrastination out of my way. Fresh Fuel is a fresh take on getting healthy, wholesome, and satisfying foods in your life as a kickstarter to critical change that lasts. When you sign up for a Fresh Fuel program at thefreshfuel.com, you'll find tiers for your specific level of can't get up and go. I know I found mine. My friend and founder of Fresh Fuel, Megan Abraham, wants to do one thing and one thing only. She wants you and your family to eat healthier, delicious, home-cooked meals. That's it. With Fresh Fuel, Megan has taken all of the I can't do it out of putting better meals in front of the people you care about. And she's quick to remind that one of those people should include you. Go to thefreshfuel.com and choose the program that's right for you. Megan provides you with the recipes, supply lists, links, videos, goals, and very important here, access to the Fresh Fuel Facebook group, where you can connect with other fresh fuelers, real people just like you and me, making the same journey. What I love most about meal prepping with Fresh Fuel is that you don't have to do it alone. Megan is right there with you every step of the way, making the same changes you are. Fresh Fuel isn't a diet. It's a life change for those of us that just have trouble changing. Since I signed up for Fresh Fuel, I'm cooking more, eating better, and honestly, I'm feeling better too. I believe in Fresh Fuel so much that I asked Megan to offer Find the Good News listeners a chance to try it out at a discount. Just go to thefreshfuel.com, select one of Megan's signature programs, Fresh Fuel 28, the 28 Plus, or the 28 Pro plan, and then enter the code Good News to get 10% off your program. That's 10% off a Fresh Fuel signature program by visiting thefreshfuel.com and entering the code Good News. Fresh Fuel has been good news in my life, and I'm betting that thefreshfuel.com will be good news for you too. I know just looking out the world, and we were talking about this off pod about the news even. I mean, if you just watch the news, and our kids are exposed to the news. I mean, I'm sure you use social media and watch the news and get information coming into your life. When you have bad news flowing in and you have bad situations just constantly coming at you from all these different directions, I guess it could jade you. And I just think it's pretty amazing when you don't let it, right? I mean, when you have to, because that takes work and it increases that muscle.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It
Like, because you could just, like you said, leave those types of situations, go, man, it's problem after problem after problem, carry it into your life, pass that kind of thing on to Jack.
Right.
You know, and you then have this responsibility that you're taking to go, okay, I've got to, not do that.
Right. And I always thought that where Jack and I, or where Jack grew up, is about a 20-minute drive from the police department. Yeah. So I haven't been on patrol in years, but when I was on patrol and I was faced with those daily crummy situations, I remember thinking several times how beneficial it was that I got to drive 20 minutes before I got home, just to unwind a little bit and let some of that get off my head and be fresh and clean when I got home with Jack.
Yeah. Man, that's something we talked about this with another guest about kind of creating a wading pool. We were talking about how when you were a kid, sometimes there would be like a little plastic pool at the edge of the swimming pool, so you could wash the grass off your feet before you went in the house. And we were talking about how, having that in your life, a little wading pool, is of value because you're just going to track that mess into your house.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So, Jack, I mean, I guess I thinking about my own son, I always worry about those same things. Like, when I encounter something negative, or if I go through something negative, that I'm just not going to realize that I'm carrying it into my house and I'm going to pass it on. In any of your formative years, I mean, did you ever sense that from your dad? Like, dad's making an effort to not do that? Or were you even aware of that? Or was your dad just so good at not bringing that into your life?
The older I got, the more aware I was. Yeah. And it's a strong quality to have. To put you before all of the crummy situations that he encountered 20 minutes before he walked through the door, to separate that and really control his attitude for the environment. It's hard. But I can tell that he was doing it, and
I don't know that it always worked, but I did try.
We try. I don't always do it. I mean, I always regret it when I don't. Right. But I can't say I know that I don't always do a good job of it. I mean, we all are faced with stressors out there. And I mean, even our kids, I think that sometimes as parents, it's easy to forget that kids are getting a whole different set of stressors. I mean, I guess having a child in band, I mean, Jonah's in color guard, so it's not, I guess it's all the band, but he's got that same hectic schedule that you guys have. And it's a huge commitment of time.
I think his schedule is a bit more hectic whenever it comes down to band, at least. Like, them and drumline, they have to... we have to get on the field, for example, for our schedule. This is kind of off topic.
No, please go for it. I'd love to talk about it.
Our schedule is 6:30 to 8 every Monday afternoon, and 6:30 to 7:30ish every morning. But they're always there like 30 minutes early, and while I'm getting there, I see them already doing workouts and routine and stuff, and I think my job's hard. And then I look at the color guard and drumline, and it's
I didn't realize drumline was there earlier either.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, I wonder about it too, and I think about the commitment that parents have to make. It is a commitment. I mean, when your kid is committed to it, you're committed too. I mean, you're there for the 3 a.m. pickups, and
yeah, it wasn't until just, I guess, within the last year or so it dawned on me. I thought I had a busy schedule, lots of hustle and bustle, and it was kind of hectic. And I started looking at Jack, and I thought, man, he actually has a busier schedule than I do. He has longer days than I do.
Yeah, I think the same thing about Jonah. It is wild. I think sometimes, again, it's like you said, you look when you went to New York and China and looking at people from that perspective, and kids are people too, especially young adults in high school. Who I am always I don't know how to describe it. It's like a big sigh of comfort when I look at my kid, because I go, he's working all these hours, he's dedicated, and he's faced with some adversity, in relationships sometimes, and yet he still is positive and has hope and wants to do good things. And I mean, I see the same thing with you, and I go, man, how awesome is that? Because they could just totally crawl up in a ball out there, considering the things they're faced with.
I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't have nearly any of the activities that he had, which meant I had a lot of downtime. And with downtime, you can sometimes there's no saying that goes with that. Idle time, idle hands.
Idle hands, or the devil's playthings, or something like that. Yeah.
Right. And that was definitely me in high school. So I never had a schedule that he had. We have different experiences, him and I, from high school.
Me too. I tell Jonah that all the time. I say, man, I mean, mine was so different. My dad, I didn't have as much downtime because Dad wanted us to work. So I was constant. It's like after school, and I walked to work. Right. And so and work till I got off, go home, do homework. And that kind of was the cycle of the things. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't involved but I had I think I was lucky in the sense that I had a good close knit of friends, little 5 fingers friends, but, I see these kids in band, and I'm blown away at that network. I'm like, it's like an arc,
Yeah, the camaraderie that all of these guys have, I can't think of another group of people I'd rather than be associated with. It really is good.
Agreed.
He is, he's 17 now, but when he was much younger, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, I had no qualms whatsoever with him going to spend the night at a friend's house. That I would call the dad or the mom and say, hey, what y'all going to be doing? And after a while, I realized it is pretty relaxed. I mean, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. I'm kind of, I talk about this on the show, Jonah. I don't know why I always pause before I say it, because it's very normal. But my son's gay, mm-hmm. and he's open and out and everything, and he's very comfortable in himself. Very good-hearted person. But I had a kind of different experience when he was a kid, because before he really kind of said it out loud, we kind of felt like we knew that things were headed that way.
Right.
And so other parents did too, because if you sense something and you're around a kid and you're just going, I just had this feeling. And then other parents are doing that too, but the other parents unfortunately aren't as nice about it, because not their kid. So Jonah kind of got isolated in that regard. He didn't have a lot of, and I'm telling Jonah's business, but I think it's good to talk about because he talks about it openly. One of his biggest frustration is becoming an adolescent is this, I guess, gay stigma, mm-hmm. in the sense that he had trouble making girls be friends with him very easily. But he said, there's a lot of guys that I want to be friends with, but they're kind of scared to be friends with me, because then people are going to think and start saying, oh, well, you're friends with Jonah, y'all getting,
right.
Or it was like he said, and I wish it didn't have to be that way. He said, I wish I could just be friends with anybody, but I can't. And he's expressed how hard that is. So when he does when his friends, as he got into high school and I started seeing his friends become more diverse, and he started having more, there's just different people in different categories.
Right.
I was like, okay, this is healthy for him finally. He's finally starting to have these normal, healthy relationships that don't have stigmas attached to him. And people don't treat him, some people still do, but they don't treat him, they treat him like Jonah, not
Right.
all that stuff, right? It's been a struggle, though. So his junior high years were really pretty tough.
I've started talking to him a little more in the past month or two.
Yeah.
And it's an instant observation that he's one of the most kind, positive souls at Sulphur High School.
Really?
And it's extremely contagious too. Like, looking at him makes me happy. It's just, he's always so happy. So like,
yeah, I thought that the other morning at my own house. I was tired, and he popped in the room, and he was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" He was ready for school, and he had this like brightness, and I went, made me feel good. I was like, man, I kind of needed that because I didn't have it. And it just like you said, yeah, he's got that about him. He's just a good kid. I mean, and when again, like I said, and I use him sort of as my lodestone a lot of times about other people, because when he brings somebody up, I'm like, he must really think highly. And he's brought Jack up several times. So I want to circle back actually on that, because again, getting back to Jack and the piano and all of that, I'm still kind of blown away that you've only been playing the piano for about a year.
well, I've been messing around for about 2 years,
Okay.
2.5 years, but I've decided I wanted to like play piano about 1.5 years ago, going on 2 years probably now.
Yeah.
I don't have a date. I don't know when I started.
Yeah, you just remember
Right.
It's been about that time. So how did that start for you? You already played trumpet. Have you always been musically inclined?
I mean, trumpet was my first introduction to music, and
Yeah.
I started that 6th grade, like a lot of the people in band do.
Yeah.
And I realized that I don't have to just play trumpet.
Yeah.
In fact, no offense to band, but that's probably the least fun instrument that I play.
yeah.
I can't really unwind on trumpet as I would on piano or
I gotcha.
even drum set, or I'm starting to play guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most, down to earth instrument for me, I guess, because sheet music and auditions, and I can, have a place in band due to trumpet. But outside of band, it's a whole different musical, like, position. I
Yeah,
guess.
I can see that. I mean, I guess when I watch you play, I watch some of those New York videos, and I've went and watched you at Stellar Bean a few times, and I guess the fluidity of watching you play, the way it just seems to roll right out of you. And I don't know. Even that video, I think I saw the video of you playing with the lady from Georgia. Possibly. You might have videoed it. You were playing with somebody, and I actually had told my wife, I said, I was watching that video a couple of times, and I watched your hands a lot and your body, right? And I'm like, look how fluid this seems to just like, he gets into it. You can see your spirits like in it. But then I was watching her watch you. And that was fascinating, because I was like, look at her watch. You can see like on her face, like these sort of lights popping off. Like she was going, wow.
She was very complimentary.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, you can play. That's what you could see. Like, wow, this kid can play, man. He's like really rocking this piano right now.
I think where Jack has benefited, and I realize I'm biased, I'm his dad, but obviously he has some natural talent. But for the last 6 or 7 years, he's learned music theory and learned how to read sheet music, and has messed around with a few different instruments, and he's just constantly around music.
Yeah.
So for him to pick up the piano, and so like when he plays songs, you'll recognize a song, but he adds his own spin to it every time. He's improvising, and
okay, you can tell, and it's good. It's like you flow into these songs one to the other.
right.
It was just cool at Stellar Beans. I'm not gonna
Thank you,
lie, because
thank
I
you.
had my back to you, and I didn't know it was you. And I was just going. I was sitting there with my drink, and I would recognize these songs, like you just said, and I'd go, that's cool. Oh, that's this. And I'd look at my wife and go, you know this song? And then all of a sudden it would shift into this other song. And I was like, wow, who's playing this?
He's actually, I want to say I've heard him play a 1960-something classical song and seamlessly move into Dr. Dre.
Oh, yeah. That's...
It's really kind of neat when he does that.
That's cool. And you just teach yourself these songs, or do you find the music and then learn it by looking? Or is it like or is there some ear to it that you're just...
Well, first I try to do it by ear.
Yeah?
But if I need help, then I look up like a lead sheet, which is basically, it tells me the key and the chords. Mm-hmm. And then I try to figure it out on my own as much as possible, because then it puts my spin on it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But
so what do you see happening, Jack? I mean, like, what's your so you're go to high school and you're kind of like, okay, I'm in band, and then you start getting interested in piano, and then you find out, obviously now, hey, I can do this. And people, I mean, it's one thing when you know you can do it. It's another thing when and then your parents are telling you can do it, and obviously dad's over here supporting you, going, man, you're really good. But then when you start playing publicly and you go, hang on, people are responding to me, then it's a whole nother layer, right?
Yes.
So what's that feel like?
I remember my first night of playing at Tia Juanita's.
Yeah.
I went to the office to get my paycheck, and I asked them, like, hey, what do you think? Do you want me back again? Did you like what you hear? And then they all had such positive things to say, and because I think I'm always going to be self-conscious. I'm always going to be like, not modest, but also self-conscious, because there's always somebody somewhere that can do it better than me.
Yeah, that's everything we all do. Yeah, there's always somebody that's topping us. Yeah.
But it's hearing it from somebody else. It's a great feeling to hear it from my dad and my mom, but a stranger on the street is just, I don't know, it's
validation.
Different. Right.
Yeah, I can imagine that what that feels like. I've never done anything like that, where it was like just presenting a talent out to the public and just going, hey, here it is. What's it like? I mean, I know that it's comforting. I don't know. I mean, I go listen to some live music. I wouldn't say I go listen to a lot, but when I do listen to live music, I like to be able to just sit and enjoy it and not be kind of overtaken by it, to the sense of like, okay, this is all that I'm here for. Like it's like in these environments you're playing in, like Stellar Bean and Tia Juanita's, they're obviously there to dine, so you don't want to take their dining experience away from them, but you want to enhance it, right? And that's what I kind of might be overthinking it. I don't know.
No, you're right.
No, that's exactly what
you have to read the room
about.
You really have to like sit back. Sometimes I let my fingers go for a little bit, and I try to really read the room to see if I should either go to like melancholy and infinite sadness, or I should put like a hip hop beat and play some, Still Dre.
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually pretty awesome that you're doing that. I mean, you're 17, right? 17.
Right.
Man.
Yes.
And so you're acquiring the skill to read the room. And did you do that on your own intuitively?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
If, for example, at Stellar Beans, if people are like reading, then I play some elevator jazz or something like that.
Yeah.
But if people are like laughing, having a good time, then bump it up a little bit.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man, because I guess I perceived it for sure. I mean, you definitely had that vibe. I mean, it was like, hey, this feels like an enhancement to just being here.
You're not the first person that said that. Braden, that was his... Braden Jenkins, right?
Oh, Braylon Jenkins.
Braylon,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Braylon.
Yeah.
He had reached out to Chelsea, the owner of Stellar Beans, and sent her a message saying that how pleasurable the experience was when he went there, because it wasn't overbearing. It was exactly what he wanted to hear, and he could just, it enhanced his experience there. He wasn't there to see a concert. He was there to drink coffee and relax in the morning, and then you had this to the music to enhance it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you want to stay in the place longer. I will say that. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's no doubt. I mean, I actually, you were playing again. Facebook events and things like that are a lot of the ways I find out about things. And there was one day I was like, oh, hey, Jonah, Jack's playing. I was like, you want to go to Stellar Bean and grab a drink? And that was literally the way that went. It wasn't, I mean, this is no slight to Stellar Bean. We go there a lot too. Right. But it was the way, what did I say? I said, hey, Jack's playing. Do you want to go to Stellar Bean? Oh, right? So that means that,
that's
I
nice.
mean, you become the draw. Like, hey, we're going to go to dinner tonight. Well, Jack's playing at Tia Juanita's. Well, let's go there. You see what I'm saying? It's not just, hey, they got good fish tacos. It's like, hey, Jack's there, so let's go have our meal there. That's kind of a cool thing.
That's awesome.
It's a great reminder, really.
Yeah. I did see other people reaching out to you now, too, like to kind of play at other venues, yeah?
All right. So a couple days ago, I didn't even tell you about this, but last Thursday, when I left Tia Juanita's,
right,
I was bringing my piano back to my car, and I passed Luna's. And I backed up a little bit, and then I went back into Luna's, and I asked about playing there.
Yeah.
And then the host, Isaac, said, message, blah, blah, blah. I think his name, Dave?
Dave? Yeah.
Dave. And I messaged him, and his response, it was like, actually, I've been looking forward to talking to you.
How cool is that, dude?
Just that sentence, it really lifted my hopes.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
That's cool. So that means that other people are going, hey, who is that? I mean, I gotta say, I mean, this is again my own perception. I can't speak for anybody else, but I know just the way I consume things and information and music and what have you. It's a whole mixture of things. It's like, do I know the person? Do I like the person? Do I like the music? Do I like the place? I mean, There's all these different things. Is the timing right? And it seems like you're hitting a lot of those little categories for a bunch of different folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what's my original question, which I totally derailed my own question, was where do you see this all going? I mean, what's your
a lot of it depends on what college I go to.
Yeah.
But right now, this is my job, and I'm so lucky and happy because this is the best job for me.
Yeah.
But after this, I'm just trying to make some connections so it's easier. I'm sounding way too professional. I'm not, I'm just
I understand.
17-year-old boy. But
well, I mean, 17 years old, I don't know if boy would be the word I would say anymore. You're definitely a young man.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would love to, make it, so to speak.
Yeah. And what you mean by make it is like to where people go, Jack Harrell.
Right.
They know the name, they know the music.
Right. Where my Instagram has over a little over 115 followers or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is Retro Piano. Right. Also, that's my Instagram. The zero.
Retro Piano?
0 on Retro.
Okay. I'm going to put a link to it on the show so people can get to it. So do you do music on SoundCloud or anything like that? Do you upload anything?
Instagram is the only videos I have.
Yeah?
Are the only videos.
Man, that seems like SoundCloud's like Jonah's constantly telling me about these musicians. Like, oh yeah, they did this song on SoundCloud. And they're huge, like Billie Eilish, she was on SoundCloud. Right. Now she's like, these mega ticket price,
Right. Well, along those lines, Jack and I have talked a few times and doing this, we have we're fortunate enough to meet a lot of different types of people who are in one aspect or another in the business, so to say. And we've gotten some good advice, and one of those pieces of advice was, when he goes to school for music, that it doesn't have to be focused solely on performing. We've been talking about getting a degree, not we, Jack, obviously, getting a degree that will encompass the production of music, the things that happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So just in case that's something that interests him in the future, he has another avenue that he can fall back on. It doesn't have to be just performing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he keeps his feet firmly planted in the business.
I think that's smart, man. I mean, being a producer of things, I've even kind of taken that role even with our business, is going, hey, I can, instead of making content just for advertising. I can actually help other people produce content, like I think that's important to do. And I mean, there is that trend in the world. I hear so many people now who say, you know what, do your own make your own content, make sure you have it set to where you can produce your own work and put it out there, and then you're really not at the mercy of the producers anymore, right? Which, I mean, granted, that's a big help. You get there, but to be able to have that working knowledge, I think that's definitely wise. So do you have interest in that? Is that something you're very interested in too, and like being a producer, like, helping?
Oh yeah, I'd love to help as many people as possible if they want to do anything with music. Like on my card, I have tutor.
Oh yeah.
He has business cards now.
Yeah, that's wild, man. 17, got his own business cards. Yeah, that is wild. So you do tutoring? Yeah, piano.
I'm open to it.
Yeah. Have you done it? Have you taught it? Because I know my little boy.
I haven't officially. No.
Evan, that's my youngest. I don't know if you were there that day, I think, but I don't know if you saw him. But I'd never seen Evan do that before. He walked over to Jack's, where Jack was playing at Stellar, and he just. I mean, I almost felt like he was.
I love that feeling.
Really, I thought he was bothering you at first.
No.
He's like getting really close to him, and he just kept getting closer and closer, and he was just watching him like. And then I said he's gonna stay there the whole time. He stood there the whole time you played, man. I mean, and watched your hands.
It's such a great, just nice feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes I play and there's kids that like dance, like 2-3-year-old kids that like dance. I saw a 3-year-old 4-year-old boy dance with his mom while I was playing, and to have that effect on another relationship where that can happen, it's unreal.
So what does that feel like, Jack? I mean, you're kind of getting into some really, which I love that territory. You're getting into like that. And it's one of my questions. I call it like either the Zen of a thing or like the Tao of a thing, where you start, and we've all experienced it, where you start doing something and you just get lost in it, and all of a sudden it's like you don't even feel like you're even in it anymore, and it's just happening. Do you ever get in that like that high?
Yes, it's like my second wind.
Yeah.
Like my mind goes blank sometimes, and it's different for every gig.
Yeah.
But for example, the one with the like the son and the mom that were dancing, I tried to like line up every note with one of his his little dance moves or something.
Oh man.
And I'm happy, I know it. I'm helped.
Do you ever hear a good song on the radio that just moves you? Maybe it stirs your heart, but then it starts to move your body too? Do people around you say things like, "You've got rhythm," or "Where do you get your energy?" Well, I've got a secret for you. That might be your dance coming out, and the Whistle Stop Dance Sport might be just the job your dance is looking for. I know your first thought, but I don't have any dance experience. That's one of the good things about this opportunity. You don't need years of dance experience to do it. What Whistle Stop Dance Sport is searching for is a multi-dimensional talent. What does that mean? Okay, I'll tell you. You see, dance goes far beyond formal training, though that is a plus. Being able to dance means you can take life by the hand and let it put one arm around your waist and move to the rhythms that flow your way. To be a dance instructor at Whistle Stop Dance Sport, you'd need to have experience working with children, good rhythm, positive energy, and a personality for people. Dance Sport works to enrich children's lives by offering social, emotional, behavioral, and cognitive skills that naturally build confidence. Through dance, these children develop self-esteem, express themselves creatively, and strengthen critical thinking skills. Does the thought of affecting young lives in a positive way stimulate your mind, your heart? Do you want to do something that matters? Something that could really change the course of a young person's life? Then maybe that's why you heard about this dance instructor position with Whistle Stop Dance Sport. You can send your resume or letter to Whistle Stop Dance Sport, 1518 18th Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 70601. That's 1518 18th Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 70601. Training dates for this position start in July 2019. So if you feel you may be right, don't wait to send in your resume. If you'd like to hear more about this position, call Whistle Stop Dance Sport at 337-515-6900. 337-515-7577. That's 337-515-7577. And if you do call, do me a favor and let them know you heard about this on Find the Good News. So cool. So you're like, that's why I asked, because the way you're describing that is like you almost are playing the person too, right?
Right.
Yeah. You're like in tune. It's a whole different way of communicating with people. I mean, we're sitting here talking, but you're like kind of communicating with all these varieties of people through what's happening on your piano.
Just seeing any reaction in the crowd from something that I'm causing, it's so much different than almost any job that anyone can have. It's a different kind of feeling and a different kind of, like, I'm paid to make people happy. I'm paid to
Feel.
Right. Or I try my best anyways, but
Yeah.
whenever it works, it works.
Yeah. Does it feel like love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's tips are cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Physical dollar bills are pretty cool, but whenever I can connect with one of the quote unquote audience members, it's so much better than a $5 bill.
Yeah.
Because I know they're taking me with them when they leave the door, not leaving a piece of paper in my. I mean, hey, that's cool.
Well, yeah,
if you want to tip me, go for it.
Yeah.
This is my job.
Gotta eat. Right. That's it.
But it's so much more like emotional whenever I know that they'll remember me in the next 30 minutes after they're gone, for the next day after they're gone.
Yeah.
And it makes me jealous because I didn't love my profession until I was much older than him. I mean, at 17 I was in the military, but before that I had worked at, local restaurants here in town. And it was a job.
Yeah.
You're a busboy, or you're making pizza, or you're doing whatever. And he's done well financially, but more importantly, to hear what he just said, it really warms my heart, because he actually loved what he does. And some people, they go their whole lives without that feeling,
Yeah, right, man. You're right. God, what does that, I mean, to see that as a dad, to know, and as a father, to feel like you've been a part of that, right? You've been part of being sort of the runway to some degree. I mean, I think that with Jonah and all my children, if they have any success, you don't want to take the credit for it, but you say, hey, I at least was part of building the runway to get to let you then do this thing,
Right. And the way that came about, so what it came about was before Jack got into music, I encouraged him to do other things. We're not just going to sit by idly and twiddle our thumbs or play Sony or Xbox or whatever.
Yeah.
So when he was much younger, in elementary, he played football, he played soccer, he played baseball, he was the whole gamut of sports. And after a while I noticed he wasn't enjoying it as much, and it was, I don't know how to say this without sounding arrogant, but he didn't appreciate the team effort. I could see where he would benefit more from an individualized sport.
Yeah.
So we never quit anything that we started. We always finished out the season, and then we try something different. And then he didn't want to do it at all anymore. So I said, all right, that's fine. You're going to do something. So we looked at karate, and he was in karate for about 3 years, maybe to a purple belt. Mm-hmm. And for almost the entire time, I could see he really enjoyed that. It was individualized. So if he won or lost, he could blame no one but himself. And eventually that wore out, I guess, and then we were going into 6th grade. And
I think it was during 6th grade, because it
was before, because I said that's fine, but if you want to stop karate, that's cool, but you're going to pick something else up,
like pick another something to put your energy
like a
into,
hobby or something.
And he said, how about band? Why not? Okay. So I remember taking him to school. His mom and I had a lot of discussions about it, and she has been there. She's not here right now, but trust me, she's been there every step of the way as being supportive and doing whatever we can to make him happen. So we went to middle school and we were looking at what instrument to try out first, and for some reason I just thought it'd be the coolest thing to have him learn to play the saxophone. And he was like, I like that, Dad. And it was the trumpet.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So he's been doing it ever since. And
where did he go to middle school? Where was
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc, okay. That's where I went too.
Me too.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. Small world.
Yeah, we all went to LeBlanc. I went to Sulphur High. And then, it's been now I had to pull back a little bit because I realized I was probably applying too much pressure. But the mentality I had when he started probably 5th grade was whatever you can be in that is extra. Just something extra, be involved in something that is going to benefit you the next year. So in junior high it was band, and it was
I did track.
You did track, but not just track. You were in student council for a while,
right.
And the idea behind all that is everything that you do now is going to make it easier, and you'll already have that mindset when you get into high school. And when you do all these things in high school, it's also grades. Of course, he has a spectacular GPA.
Awesome.
But all that's going to prepare you for college. It's just going to be easier and easier and easier as you go along if you get into whatever it is now. Student council, Future Leaders of America, band, any social clubs, anything that anything other than sitting at the house and doing nothing. Although that's needed occasionally, just some downtime, some relaxing. So we actually had to pull back. You were in some organization, I forget what it was, and you said, it's just not for me, and it's too much.
I think was it Beta?
Yeah, that's what it was, Beta Club. And I said, all right, well, let's pull back a little bit. Maybe I was pushing too much, but the goal or the idea or the theory behind all of that is everything that you're doing today is going to prepare you for tomorrow in each step of junior high school, college, and from college you're going to have a pretty impressive resume going into college, and hopefully out when you finish college.
I made my resume for a college project.
Did you?
The other night.
I'd like to see it.
For my jobs, I get to put like entertainer at T. Juanita's, entertainer at Cousins, entertainer at Stellar B, and it just goes on for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny.
It's interesting. I mean, what you just described, I mean, it creates this experience for him to always be thinking about, hey, what can I do extra, right? I mean, in general, and you now becoming a man and getting these gigs. As you take each gig, I'm sure you're thinking like, okay, I got this gig, now what can I do extra? How can I enhance this experience? And one thing, it gets, like you said, it builds to the next thing.
It does. And of course I'm not musically inclined like him, but that's always been my mindset is, and it's not always a good thing. Sometimes you have to pull the reins back because it can get overwhelming. But what's next? What's next? What's next? Whatever you're doing, what's next? How can I make this better? All right, what's next?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to stop, smell the flowers, live in the moment.
Yeah.
And relax a little bit. And I've had to remind myself of that when raising Jack.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm guilty of the same thing, because I mean, you start to see a little bit of start to see people turning the lights on for you. Like even with Jack, I'm sure you see that. Like that's that positive response. You start going, hey, people are lighting up.
Right.
People are responding. There, you can get overzealous and do too much too fast and go, I'm going to just go all in 100%, and then before long you look back and you're like, oh, I don't have any downtime anymore. I have no peace.
And you don't enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
You're so busy thinking what's next and just being busy that you don't enjoy the experience. So somewhere there's a happy medium, and I think he is on the path right now of finding that happy medium.
Yeah.
It took me 46 years to do it, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of past that happy medium.
Yeah.
I remember after my very, very, very first gig, I told my dad that I would be doing the same thing on my piano bench in a bar as I would on my couch at my house. And it's.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying those aren't two separate experiences for you, right? Like you're saying, I want to keep the essence of the comfort of playing at home and apply that when I go out and play. Is that what you're saying?
It's just like I would be doing this in my garage, but now I made not a living out of it, but like this is my job. I
remember this conversation. I had asked you, hey, buddies, because he was playing everywhere. Now that school started, he had to pull it in a little bit, but he was playing everywhere. I said, but are you still enjoying it? Do you still want to play?
Yeah.
And that's when he said, if I'm not playing here, I'd just be on the couch playing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm assuming, and you haven't set it up yet, but you're going to play for us today, and you brought your gear in. I mean, is that essentially your gear that you have to bring? Is your piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I stopped bringing my bench. I just use chairs at the restaurant.
Whatever's
now.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes like 5 minutes to set up, and then I can just vibe out for a couple hours, and then it feels like 5 minutes has passed, and then I finish the night, and then I go home with a huge smile on my face, listening to some music, go
Money
to bed,
in your pocket.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, all the things. Yeah, that's clean and simple, man. I mean, there's so many worse things you could be doing with yourself, honestly.
Right.
It surprises me all the time. Just for example, his now I like to think I have a little bit to do with this, and his mom, his musical taste. It ranges from big band live orchestras from the 60s to Nirvana to Journey to
like my band director, I call him Mr. Mac.
Yeah, Mr. Mac.
Right.
Yeah.
And he describes me as like, that's his first description. It's just my music taste. Like I'm not trying to be like, but he said it's anything from the Doobie Brothers to like Metallica to Wynton Marsalis, which is a trumpeter, and it's
very broad and diverse. Right. Then you don't just have like one. I like this, and that's it. That's my category.
And I didn't know he described me to my math teacher, which I did. The first day of school happened a couple of days ago, right? And I was in class, and I zoned out for like 20 seconds, and then he looked me dead in the eyes, and he was like, well, how do you doing in Russia? And I've never talked to him before. I was really confused. So apparently, I don't know, he was talking about like Fahrenheit or Celsius, and then I asked him about it after class, and he said, Jack, I know a lot more about you than a lot of the teachers. And I felt kind of weird about that, but it was a good thing. His name is Mr. Prejean. He actually came to Tijuanitas the other day to watch me.
Oh, wow.
He plays in the GTOs.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
He had like 50 something gigs last year in bands, because he plays trumpet.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal.
That support from educators, how important is that to you? Like having teachers respond like that? I mean, and pay attention. I think it's high value, man.
Absolutely. One of the things that some of his teachers, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but he was one of the things that we do. I have 3 guys from work, and Jack is friends with all of them, and I consider my best friends. For the last several years, we travel a lot to go to concerts, rock shows, music festivals. We've driven to Florida. We're driving to Louisville, Kentucky next month. We go to Austin, Houston. Jack can't make Kentucky, sorry.
Honor band audition.
Honor band auditions,
okay.
Yeah. But so he's included in all of those activities. And he sees some things, he hears some things, smells some things, all sorts of things. But it's an introduction into what real life is. It's not this protected behind your house walls or the school walls. It's what is out there. And so I got off track. One of his teachers made note of him and kind of talked to him about for the next couple of years. It was his reputation, because was it a Guns N' Roses concert we went to, or Metallica?
Oh, you're talking about Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Taylor, that's it.
Yeah, it's my best friend's dad, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was late for my very first day of band camp as a freshman because I was leaving a Guns N' Roses concert. And that's how Mr. Taylor knows me now.
Oh, that was the first contact. Right. Yeah, okay.
It's amazing because now, a few weeks back before his son Caleb left for LSU, I just drive to his house almost daily, well maybe weekly, and he was just my physical science teacher that I saw every day 7th hour, but now I'm having steak with him and swimming with him in this pool.
That's
because
wild.
That was off topic, but
no, it's not. I mean, it just shows the value of I think of a relationship and of paying attention. I mean, when a teacher or an educator of any kind says, "Hey, I see something in you, kid," I mean, I'm paying attention, and it does. It motivates a kid. I mean, It really does. I love that. I mean, I won't say that it happens a lot. It's just when it does. I got a letter from Jonah's chemistry teacher yesterday, an email. I say a letter. I mean, it was an email, but it was a nice lengthy email. And I was like, this is weird. Came out of nowhere. And he was like, hey, this is Mr. Such and Such, your son's chemistry teacher. I just want to let you know he's a joy to have in my class. He's always positive, and he really tries really hard. And when he has questions, he asks me. And I just want you to know that there's just something special about him, and I'm enjoying having him. And it was just sort of this overview. Awesome. And I thought, was there more to this? What is this?
Where's the but or the whatever?
Yeah. What is this for?
Because everybody it's quick to complain, but to be proactive and actually go out there and make some people known. Make compliments known. Nothing impressed me more than when someone I didn't know walked up to me and told me how respectful my son was.
How awesome is that? Yeah.
I once had the ambassador of a nation tell me, so this is a cute little story. So I told you we've done a lot of traveling, right? Well, his mom, she's German, and her mom still lives in Germany, and her brother was in the military and stationed mostly in Eastern European countries or Germany most of his career. So we would go to Germany, if not every other year. And one year we went to Stuttgart, I think. And so his uncle, if he's not a general now, he's almost, before he retires, he's a full bird colonel. Most of his career has been spent in intelligence. So his jobs are at the embassies and things like that. And we were all going out for an adult night one night, some German tavern for dinner and some beer or something like that. And Jack was around 6 years old, if I had to guess.
Wow.
And his cousins, because his uncle also had a couple kids, we brought them over to his friend's house, who happened to be the Danish ambassador to Germany, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of life am I living here? I mean, we're dropping my son off at an ambassador's house. So we did. We all left, had a good time. Excuse me. And we were gone for maybe 3 or 4 hours. I'm not sure. When we came back, it was dark. It's a beautiful home. It's kind of intimidating. It's probably, if you include it's built on a mountain, and if you include the basement, it's 4 stories. And we all start walking up to the door to get all of our children. And this man, who I hadn't met when we dropped him off, comes outside. And I swear he's probably 6'5", 6'6". He's a tall, lanky man. And I'm sad I don't remember his name, but he looks at me and says, "Are you Jack's father?" Oh man, what happened? What happened? I don't want to get chastised by an ambassador. So I said, "Yes, sir. Jack's mine." And he says, "I just want to tell you, I'm not going to fake the accent. I can't do it, but you can imagine the Danish accent. It was very thick." And says, "I want to tell you what a very respectful young man you have." He said, "Please," and "Thank you," and "Yes, sir," and "No, sir." And he listened. He's a good boy. And I was just kind of awestruck. So when we got, I grabbed his hand and I held his hand. We walked back to the car, and I said, "Hey, buddy, when we get home, you're gonna get that Sony PlayStation." And he did. We had a PS3. That was whatever year that was, because he had wanted one, and I thought,
I think I remember you telling me that.
Yeah,
because I wanted that PlayStation. So
yeah,
it's really good news.
You get complimented by an ambassador to a nation, you get a PlayStation.
That's awesome.
And that goes for everyone.
And everybody gets
What's that?
it's every kid everywhere. Yeah.
So that goes to all fathers and sons out there.
Fathers, you know what you just got committed to.
Right.
God, that's funny, man. I love thinking about stories like that. I love hearing stories like that too. It brings me back to something, and this is totally irrelevant, but I guess it is relevant in the whole fathers and sons conversation. You know, when Jonah was, especially in junior high and elementary school, he was always shorter than other kids. He was like, he looked younger. He was just, people would think he was 2 grades behind them. And, so I always kind of had this sort of overprotective feeling because he was almost a target, like constantly a target. And so I was just like, always like, okay, I'm going to walk him to school every day. I'm going to be with him every day. And so for years I walked him to school and would walk him across the street. So I guess 6 or 7 years old, you know, I guess that was the point where he just sort of was kind of wondering like why none of the other kids' dad was walking him across the street. But Jonah had a word. He called adults humans. He never said adults. He would say like there were kids and there were humans.
Oh,
That was how he said it, and he did it for a long time from when he was little.
that's funny.
Yeah, it was totally funny. And people, when you'd hear him talk, if he was saying adult, he meant adult, but he would say human. And so one day, we're at the crosswalk here in Sulphur, 6 or 7 years old. And so we're walking across the street and he looks up at me and he goes, "Daddy?" And I was like, "Yeah, buddy." He goes, "Daddy, how come I'm the only little boy that has to bring a human to school?" And this teacher was standing there and she looked at me and I was like, how do I begin to explain what you just heard from my kid? Like, why am I the only little boy that has to bring a human to school?
That's funny.
It's funny, man, because out of context, you're going, what's going on with this family? Right?
Exactly.
It's like a science fiction movie. But it makes me think, I think about that sometimes, because I mean, not to get too philosophical about it, but if you meditate on one thing, you know, you can kind of get more juice out of it, I guess. And in squeezing some juice out of that all these years, I've thought, you know, there's just going to be a day where he's not going to need his human anymore, you know?
All right.
And then the other thing about that was like, I think it's important that I try to be a good human. And you mentioned that at the beginning, you know, how important it is that we try to be good men, fathers, human beings, and be good to other human beings and pass that on to our boys, you know, and all our kids.
And not just preach it. I mean, you actually have to let them see, you know, actions do speak louder than words.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm happy, I know it.
This episode's Fishing for Goodies Fishbowl sponsor is Brimstone Museum and Henning Cultural Center in Sulphur, Louisiana. I don't know what you look for when you travel, but one of the things I look for when I'm putting together my itinerary is a unique museum or gallery in the city I'm traveling to. I do this almost every time I go to a new city, but if I'm being honest, I'm guilty of not always doing that very thing right here at home in Sulphur, Louisiana. That's really a shame because we have one of the most interesting, historically relevant, and culturally rich corners in any city in the country about 2 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. I'm talking about the Brimstone Museum and Henning Cultural Center. Have you ever really thought about why our city is named Sulphur? They've got a permanent exhibit on the history of the sulfur industry that answers that simple question and more. You really get a full scope of just how important the sulfur mining industry was to the development of Southwest Louisiana and the impact it had on the rest of the world. Yes, the rest of the world. On the same property, right next door to the museum, is the Henning Cultural Center, presenting some of the most interesting, modern, and culturally relevant local art shows I've ever seen. My dear friend Tom Trahan and the Brimstone Historical Society have really worked hard to give us this treasure, and it's a multifaceted jewel that I plan to take advantage of more often. You don't have to wonder what their hours are, or how to get there, or what shows are coming up. Just go to brimstonemuseum.org like I did, and subscribe to their mailing list right there on the homepage. That's brimstonemuseum.org. Tom will make sure you start getting the announcements for each and every new show at the gallery. But you don't have to wait for the mail to arrive to enjoy this historical local treasure. You don't have to be guilty, like me, of overlooking a local wonder that conveniently sits next to the Grove, one of the most beautiful walking parks in Southwest Louisiana. Drop in and say hi to Tom for me. Tour the museum and center, and make sure to tell Tom that you heard about Brimstone Museum on Find the Good News. Now, Let's take that dive in the fishbowl. So, you guys, I don't know if y'all got to listen to the show beforehand or not, but we have this is a good place to do this. This is towards the end of the show. What I have every guest do is they get to draw out of this fishbowl.
Okay.
And so this is a section of the show called Fishing for Goodies. And so what happens is we'll just take turns. You guys can alternate. But you just draw 3 questions, not a piece, but together. You'll just rotate and basically answer the questions together the best you can. It's just a little fun game.
Okay.
The mystery stuff in there. Some of those are submitted by listeners. Some of them have been submitted by guests like you guys.
Right. Okay.
And then some of them are just from little card games and packs. So there's just sort of some stuff in there. It's a lot of fun.
Go ahead, buddy.
All right.
Oh, this would be a guest submitted question.
All right. Which are cooler, dinosaurs or dragons?
Oh.
Well, in my opinion, I think dragons are cooler.
Yeah.
However, dinosaurs...
There's not, like, there's no fossils for dragons.
Right.
That's true.
But they also... They're cooler. Dragons are cool.
They are
dinosaurs
cool.
don't,
Fly and breathe fire.
Yeah, I mean...
Melt iron thrones.
Right.
That's right. You guys Game of Thrones fans? Do y'all watch that?
I watched it.
Yeah, me too. You weren't. I'm assuming you didn't like it. You didn't get into it.
I haven't even started it yet.
Probably don't have time to watch a whole big show like Game of Thrones. That's a pretty big commitment.
It is.
Yeah. And today in the news, I say it was today. It looks like it was like August 16th or something. But there was they found a fully fossilized dinosaur, not bones. It had skin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the most well-preserved dinosaur that they've ever found. And I posted on my Facebook page. I was like, this is really cool. Now, its skin is fully intact. You can see all the features, everything. It even had food in its stomach still.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man.
Do you remember where?
Now you're going to get me. I can't remember where. They only had 2 photographs of it. But apparently what they think happened is it was sucked out into the ocean and it sunk. And something and it was preserved just fully, I guess. Somehow the skin was fossilized, but not the internal parts of the dinosaur the same way. And so, anyway, they're assuming, like, I guess the ocean, sea levels dropped, and then that became land, and then it just somehow got encased. It's basically like a mummy, but it's really not. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's like a fully. You can see the scales, the armor, everything. It's really neat, man.
Jeez.
So I would have said dragons yesterday, but after seeing that today, I was like, dinosaurs are pretty cool today.
All right.
That was an interesting question. Nobody's drawn that one before. There's a lot of questions in there, but dragons or dinosaurs. I didn't think that was in there.
Well, Dad.
All right. What slogan or jingle got stuck in your head forever?
Oh boy.
Oh. Well.
Do you play any of those jingles or anything like that? Jingles aren't as big now as they were.
O'Reilly's. Jack and I used to sing that. O'Reilly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may not remember that, but we did.
That was pretty catchy though.
Yeah. That got stuck in my head.
See, that's interesting. I just guess, and I don't know this, man. I mean, you're going to have to tell me, but I would think Jonah would probably say this. We were exposed to TV commercials and radio commercials all the time. But y'all's generation's really not.
Like, yeah, we have like Netflix and Spotify. Like,
yeah, there's no commercials and stuff like that.
There's ads, but it's not
like a little
classic,
Yeah, I think it's changed. Like now you hear like these little stingers, like Expedia.com and stuff like that, but it's not like a whole little My Baloney has a first name, none of that stuff,
Right. Or was it McDonald's? I just said it a while ago. Where's the beef?
No, that's Wendy's.
Wendy's?
Really?
Yeah, Where's the Beef was Wendy's.
Oh, I was thinking of Arby's. Okay, that's where we have the meats. Okay, we have the meats.
So I hadn't seen that one.
That's Arby's.
Yeah, little catchy slogans like a McDonald's thing that for me is always like ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Yeah. It's like that's always going to be.
I would rather go eat somewhere like that than I wouldn't. Why would you be a fast food and have, no offense to Arby's, but we have the meats does not sound good. Like,
Not appetizing to
like
you.
what I think. I'm gonna look it up actually, but
Dude, I'm probably gonna laugh about that later. That's the best soundbite of this whole episode. No offense to Arby's, but we have the meats. Doesn't sound. You're right. I mean, it doesn't.
I'm double checking to make sure they have.
Arby's.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Is that what it is?
They have a menu, like a item on their menu called Meat Mountain. It looks disgusting.
Dude, that actually makes. I do find that very funny. No, you're right. It is. I've not seen that. We don't have an Arby's around here anymore, so I guess we're not exposed to the meat mountain.
Good, so they're not one of your advertisers or anything.
That's pretty funny. I love how those questions can start a conversation.
Right.
Like, I didn't think that's where we're going to get. I didn't think we were going to get to the meat mountain from, what's your favorite jingle. So that's kind of hard for you to answer then, I guess. A jingle isn't...
I don't know. I made up... Well, I had to do something where I had to do a jingle beforehand because I was on piano. And it was just like a snippet from like a jazz audition from a few years ago. But it sounds just like it would be... I might play it or something.
Yeah.
But it's pretty catchy.
I mean, that actually sounds fun. I know that I've been... I was listening to a band years ago. What was that thing they were playing? There was a time where one of the insurance companies had a band that would play on all their commercials, and I can't remember what it was, but there was a song that they always played. And so anyway, I went to see this band. They were playing like, it was an AC/DC cover band, and they were playing. It was really good, actually. I was like, wow, it sounds like AC/DC. It was really good. But then out of nowhere, they started playing this song. I was like, what is that? And then they started singing the lyric, and I was like, oh, it's that insurance commercial.
Remember this.
Do you remember that?
I do.
I just can't put my finger on like what that was, but it was something. It was a band, and they were in every one of these insurance commercials. Now I can't remember. Anyway, it was just cool, and it made me laugh, and I thought that'd be kind of cool. Like if you were playing the piano and you started playing like a jingle or something, and somebody went, "Hey, that's the whatever song," It's kind of.
Sometimes he'll I guess to break the monotony or to get people's attention, I'll hear him play the Mario theme song sometimes.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it not Mario? You played a game themes? Oh no, it was.
I've played Minecraft once.
Minecraft. Okay.
I blended in like a classical setting.
His very first request. We were at a restaurant called Cousins.
It was a bunch of like 25-year-old frat boys.
Yeah.
I walked in like short shorts and tank tops, and they said, I played like the Wii theme song for a second.
Yeah.
And then they're like, dude, you have to play Mario.
The Wii theme.
Oh my god,
dude,
you have to play Minecraft.
Like,
that one.
Yeah, I know it because Jonah used to sit and make those little me characters for hours, and that song would play through the house.
That was his first request. Now he gets
the
Benny and
Wii song.
No, Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft.
I got
Okay.
like $20 for like playing the first 2 measures of Minecraft.
How crazy, man!
They were
Like, out of
really excited.
nowhere,
Like,
right?
They really liked it.
There's something exciting about that, about somebody going, hey, play this random thing I just thought of, and you're like, oh yeah, watch this, and you just like break it out,
Right.
That's probably really cool.
Whenever like people request songs, and especially if it's a song that I already know how to play, I like to act oblivious sometimes. So I'm like, I'll see what I can do, I guess. And then
Knock it out of the
little do
park.
they know, I already know it. So,
Yeah. That's kind of
like,
cool, man.
Someone requested 1,000 miles. Like,
I would walk a
right.
thousand.
No, that's
That's the pretend. Is it Proclaimers? That's the Proclaimers. They sing that. I don't know the song
Can I
1,000
play it?
Miles. Yeah, you can play it.
all right.
I can probably even pull it up on here. Actually,
You'll know it.
what's it called?
1,000 miles. I can just press play.
Yeah,
if it's
okay.
easier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, making my way downtown. Yeah.
And I already knew it. So
Yeah, that's kind of funny, man. So
like a hip hop version of it.
do you ever get a request like that where you're going, I don't know this, but I bet I can get that. I bet I can bang this out.
Mr. Brightside.
About the
I mean,
Killers.
kinda, or Sweet Caroline.
Yeah.
It's mostly just chords. So
Uh-huh.
I look up the chords and then I just try to try my best.
Yeah, do the best you can.
So at Cellar Beans, he gets to meet a lot of other musicians because they play there as well. And he met a young lady, and I don't know either one of them's name, but they have a group name. I think it's called the Deep End.
Oh,
yeah.
Sophia,
that's it. She plays all over the place. And I had walked in, I walked out. I had some friends down the road, and they had just finished playing a song. And she sang, and she sings beautifully.
Yeah.
And when her mom was there videotaping it, and I found it on Facebook, and as I'm watching it, I can see Jack, as he's playing, he's scrolling on his phone. He plays a little bit, and then starts playing with one hand. He's scrolling on the phone, which made me believe, is this the first time he's ever seen this music?
Yes.
And it was.
Wow.
And they knocked it out of the park, man. It sounded so nice.
How nice is that to be able to sync up with another musician like that and just like, oh man, we're doing this now, doing this thing.
One night at Zephyr's, they asked Jack, what song do you know? Or what song do you want to play? And it was like, I've never done this before. It was me, there was a drummer, there was a bassist, there was a guitar player, there was a singer.
That was cool. It was a full-on band.
We ended up playing Dancing in the Moonlight.
Oh, really?
And it was really fun.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be awesome. What a great, you're having so many good experiences.
Right. It was great.
It's just going to get better and better, too. You guys actually still have one more question.
Oh. It's my turn.
It's your turn.
Alright, I'm trying to get kind of... So...
That's a would you rather. So that's going to be like, fingernails or eyelashes or something like that. That is too.
Alright, would you rather be poor all your life or have a lot of money and then lose it? And why?
Wow. Somebody else had that one.
Be poor all my life or have a lot of money and then lose it?
Yes.
But the second question doesn't say anything about...
And then it says why.
I guess I'm okay with having a lot of money and then losing it. I mean, I wouldn't be okay with losing it, but at least then...
Well, yeah, it's kind of the same. Like,
that question is going to have to be retired because like somebody else drew that and had the exact same reaction. Like, this question doesn't make any sense because I mean, you're going to, if you got a choice and you're going to lose it anyway, why wouldn't you just have it and then lose it?
Right.
Why would you want to just not have it ever?
Then you get to experience different things that maybe you wouldn't have if you
just lost it.
One thing I guess would to reframe that, and I think maybe what they're trying to get at with that question, and I don't know, I might be overthinking it, is if you don't know
what you're losing, are you missing
out, right?
Okay, maybe.
Like if something, I guess it's kind of like piano. I mean, like if you're going to have these experiences, obviously playing piano your whole life it's going to change your life, right? But let's say something takes it away from you, but and that's going to create, like I would say, probably some kind of despair or sorrow to lose it.
Better to love and lost than to never have loved, right?
There we go. Poison, man, right? Isn't that Poison? I won't forget you, baby. I think that's the lyric. You a big Poison fan? Yeah?
I'm telling you, his musical taste, I'm impressed. If I've done nothing else in life than contribute to his musical repertoire, then
that's awesome.
I'm good.
How cool is that for you, man? I mean, as a dad, and just I can imagine like hearing him playing, and then you're just like, hey, that's this song from my childhood that I just dug so much. Right.
Like, sometimes I have certain songs that I like to transition from and to.
Yeah.
And probably two of my favorites are, I start with Piano Man, and then I end up playing that a little bit through, and then I hold like a low C, which is also the same starting note as Jump by Van Halen.
Oh, cool.
So like, I mess around with the settings. I put it on like an 80s brass setting, and it always turns heads.
That's cool,
it gets
man.
Everyone's attention. I mean, you know how powerful the beginning of Jump is, right?
Yeah. That's cool, man. I think you may have played that one time at Stellar Beings.
Maybe.
I just love the transitions, man. I like it when you're doing that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I know this one too. That's cool how you went to this to that. And I was sitting there with my wife that whole time, and it's probably annoying because I'm going, you hear what that is? You hear that is? You hear that? No, look, you know what that is?
I wish people were more out in the open with that, because
Really?
I can't tell if people want me to shut up or if people are just not saying anything.
Yeah.
It's probably just because like my case was in the way and I couldn't see you, but whenever it goes all the way back to getting people to move out of their seats or just nodding their head.
Yeah.
It's so much. It means so much more than just sitting there.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you're going there to sit there. You don't know I'm there playing piano, and so it's no offense.
Yeah, sure.
But
I can see that though from your perspective. I mean, I imagine you playing, and then you kick into a certain song that you do know just hits the whole crowd, and all of a sudden you can see it physically react in the.
Almost every song I start, once I hit that recognizable point, I always look up.
You
and
know
see
it's coming, yeah.
Like,
that's cool.
if there's someone that walks in with an 80s like rock shirt, I play 80s rock. Or someone walked in with like Elton John, and I'll play like Tiny Dancer or something.
Yeah.
And it's most of the songs I play at those times, whether they know it or not, are for people in the crowd.
Ah, I see. Okay, this is for them. Yeah,
Right.
That's cool, man. That's super cool. Well, man, this has been a good conversation, man.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed listening. I probably keep talking to y'all for all day, but we want to have some time for you to play.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can play whatever you want. So we're just gonna get you set up, and we'll get into that.
Sure.
Awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I wanted to say this a while back, and it's really, really off topic. But I was sitting in class in front of my friend Mason.
Yeah.
Mason LaFrance, or
Yeah.
and he's always supported me with piano.
Yeah.
And like all my friends have, like Jonah has. But he told me, like, man, I wish I could do what you do. And I don't know what happened, but I said something I should have written down, but it was like along the lines of, you have every ability to do what I do. I've just put in the time that you've yet to do, like you've yet to put in.
Yeah.
And then
your message to people is that you should try.
Right.
Put the energy into it. Yeah.
It's hard to say this without sounding like pretentious, but anyone can do what I do. They just haven't put in the time yet.
I don't think that sounds pretentious at all, man. I think that's good advice. I mean, if that's what you're telling people, I mean, good for you, because that's to me, that's humility. Telling other people, hey, you can do this. You can do what I do. Right. You put the time into it. You can do it. I think that's just damn good advice, honestly. I mean, I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of people that would just say, hey, more for me. Don't try it. I'll take that time. I'll
Right.
That's helpful advice, I think that's important, man, to be a helper, to help other people, and help them along their way, especially if you reach a level of success, and you can share some of that with other people. Why not? Doesn't have to all be struggle and strife,
Right.
There's enough of that in the world for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Time I'm listening, I'm just going, I know that song. And even the ones I don't know immediately, you linger right into something else, you know?
Right.
Just, I don't know, music always stimulates memories and feelings, and some of them make you think seriously and some of them make you smile. And I don't know, I felt myself smiling. Honestly, I felt kind of honored to sit here and just listen, you know?
That's nice.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So earlier you said you had an Instagram account, so is that the best way for people to find you if they want to get in touch with you, or do you have some other ways?
Either Instagram or Facebook.
Okay.
You could find me at Facebook by just searching my name, Jack Harrell.
And that's with 2 R's.
2 L's.
And 2 L's, okay. And then Instagram?
That's Retro Piano. The O in retro is a 0.
All right, so that's retro, RETR0 piano on Instagram. Okay. And so where are you playing at if people want to just go have a nice meal or a drink and listen to your music?
Every week I'm at Tia Juanita's, 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's every Tuesday and Thursday. And every Sunday morning it's at Stellar Beans, 9 a.m. to noon.
All right, so go out, have a good meal, get it enhanced by Jack Harrell and his piano skills. And if you look in the crowd, you might even see Jack's dad, Richard, smiling and just looking at him with pride, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank y'all for coming in. This has been good experience for me. You know, you never know what you're going to do on the weekend. And this is just, I don't know, I'm going to go home to my family and just get to tell them about just this good experience I had today.
It means a lot. It really does.
Well, I mean, you know, people are listening to this show, and we were talking about this earlier about how this just expands into new audiences. I mean, you know, I think good news is kaleidoscopic, man. I mean, it looks different for everybody.
Right.
You know?
What a word.
Yeah. I've never heard that.
Lots of colors, lots of shapes, you know. We don't.
You said you're going home to your family. I would love to get to know Jonah more, actually. We've been talking a little more. I've said that earlier, but I think he's a really good person to have in your life. Yeah, man, I've been lucky to have that's an interesting way to end the show, honestly. I mean, you know, we've started with talking about relationships with fathers and sons and just family. I mean, in general, granted, but just focusing on fathers and sons, the people in your life, your children, can be such a blessing to you. I mean, obviously, Jack's been a blessing to you, Richard. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yes.
You know, and then your dad's a blessing to you. I mean, it's just sometimes we don't take time to treasure the people that are the closest to us. You know, we think there's something else out there, and there are lots of things out there, but sometimes the people that really bring us the most light are the ones that are the closest to us. Right.
Yeah. Right. And I'm that sappy guy. I'm that sappy guy that I firmly believe that if there's any way possible to, if I talk to him every day, it's always, I love you. I mean, that's how I grew up with my dad. My dad told me I love you every chance he got. And I don't think Jack could argue that there's not been a time that I didn't end a conversation with I love you, or I'll see you soon, buddy, I miss you, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I always think you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, I mean, not to bring it down, and I hope it's not a negative message, and one of my inspirations for contacting you guys is a little selfish, you know. We record the episodes ahead of time, and so they don't launch for a few weeks after they air. And September is always kind of a hard month because that's the month we lost my dad. And unfortunately, it's a memory, or the lack of a memory, that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. And it's one of the inspirations for talking to you guys was that I never got to hear that back from my dad. Some of the last the actual words that he and I said to each other weren't good words.
Right.
And then when he got sick, I never got to really hear his voice again. And so, yeah, I always think, you know, what would have been the value for him to take a minute so I could have that memory, and for me to have even created the landing space for him to do that. And so knowing that he loved me it's good, but hearing it's high value.
It is. But in the absence of hearing it, I think that you just have to, obviously you knew your father very well, and if you know that's how he felt, I think you just have to somehow internalize that and realize people are different.
Yeah.
You know, some don't vocalize it as much.
Yeah, we just didn't have that moment, you know. And the fact that I think it's just high value, take that time like you're doing. Make it a point to go, yeah, you know your dad loves you. If something happened, you wouldn't doubt it. You're going to carry that with you. That's awesome. It's an incredible thing to plant in your children. For anybody listening, just make sure your children know, you know.
Yeah.
Do what you can to let them know. It looks like y'all are doing that. It's awesome.
Right.
Love you guys, man. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much.
And I love you just as well.
Thanks for listening to my visit with Richard and Jack. If you thought this was a good conversation and would like to hear more good news, consider supporting this podcast at patreon.com/findthegoodnews. Share the episode on social media or leave a review. I sincerely thank you for any support you offer, but most of all, I appreciate the fact that you listened.